So instead of the normal talk, I'm going to tell about myself a little bit, and it's going to be more interactive. We kind of discussed a little bit. Ugly is a personal statement. So if I just stand up here and talk about ugly, that's only my viewpoint. So we might as well discuss your viewpoints and my viewpoints and other people's viewpoints on what's ugly and what's not ugly. Because I might think something's ugly and you think it's beautiful. Who's right, who's wrong? Why do we decide this? You know, there's no set structure of what is ugly. Arden. How many people have been to Arden? How many people have been to Red Light Ramen? It's the same place. So Arden, we opened up just over a year ago, October 30th. We've done pretty well. We've been fortunate enough, like I said, top 30 restaurants in the country by James Beard, top 15 restaurants in the Midwest by Travel Magazine. I was nominated for top 30 chefs in the country by Plate Magazine in the first 12 months. So far that's done well. On the opposite side, Red Light Ramen does wonderfully. If you like to go, Friday and Saturday nights, it starts at 11:30. Show up around 11. The line starts around 11. We go from 11:30 till we run out at roughly 1 a.m. We don't serve anything other than one style of ramen. That's all we have. We don't have other options other than alcoholic slushies and beer. Here's Arden. So when you talk about ugly, especially in our world, we have to make something comfortable, something nice. You're not going to walk into a restaurant to sit down and eat, and when you walk in, you look around and it's ugly. How do you think the food's going to be? What's your first perception when you walk in? Please join in, anybody. When you walk in the restaurant and you don't like the decor, what do you think?
Food sucks. Time to leave.
Right? You don't even know me, and I'm the one making the food. So automatically, we already have to set the stage, per se. We want to make people feel comfortable. We have to watch what colors we pick. We have to watch what chairs and how things flow, and how when you walk in, the lighting, as Kevin knows, and we'll talk about more, of how, you know, photo shots and things that we're going to do when you walk in, how you feel. If you feel happy and comfortable, well, then I already got you in a position that I want you in before I serve the food to you. Snails. Who likes snails? Right? It's ugly, right? Escargot at Arden. Well, Kevin made it look really well. But for us, so we have snails. We have products that in the real world, and we'll go through some of them here, are ugly. You look at them, you don't want to eat them. You pick them out of the water, they look disgusting, right? I mean, so it's my job to make that not disgusting. Take it from a raw form or a form that people look at it, and it's not pleasurable, it's not nice, to turning it into something that is pleasurable and nice, and all of you, ooh, when you looked at it. So now you would eat this, right? Even though it's snails, or if I would have took it outside of this picture off the plate and just showed you in a bowl what it was, or took it right out of the lake, would you have eaten it? You would have said, it's disgusting, get it away from me, it stinks, it's this, it's that. These are all forms of words that we use to say something is ugly. How do we feel about this one? As my wife said, you're not really going to use that, are you? Yes. This is a form, when I was in Peru, this is a form of a frogfish. Get it off the coast right there, they catch it fresh, bring it in the restaurant live. How do we feel about it? Please interact. How do we feel about this? It's ugly? Slimy? Slimy? Any other descriptions?
Deep fry that sucker.
Right? You know, if you saw this in the water, eating it is not, it is for me, but not the first thing that people think of, correct? Frogfish. Pretty. Beautiful. Pleasant. Same exact thing. The whole thing, skin and everything is used on it. So what we have is a seaweed and skin cracker. We have a seaweed and we take the roe and make a mayonnaise out of it. We cure the fish meat, make it sashimi as the ribbons that you're going to see. So roe is in here, roe is in here, ribbons of the raw fish, and then a fish mayonnaise on top. Pretty much roe, otherwise female sac, eggs. And then presented nice. Completely two different things off of the same subject. Are we kind of seeing on how ugly can be interpreted? But the other people will walk into this and look at it and be like, that's ugly. You know? So for us in our profession, we have to change, and I fought this for years in my profession because my thought was, if I cook good food, people will eat it, and it's going to be wonderful. So for many years it was, to me, brown is delicious. You know, roasted, anything that's brown, braised beef with beef sauce, roasted potatoes, fried potatoes, all the brown is delicious. But when people come and sit down and you put a huge plate of brown in front of them, they don't react the same if you put a plate that looks like this in front of them. You know, and slowly through my years, you find out that, and I was gracious enough in my profession, I can touch everybody's senses. I'm in the only profession in the entire universe that can touch every single sense that a human has. Sight, smell, everything. Hot, cold, happy, sad. I can make you do all of this in sitting while you eat with me. All of it I don't want to do most of the time. But more personal, closer to me. This is where I grew up. This is my farm. We see the cattle, right? Are cattle ugly? Some of them are, yeah, probably. But, you know, the older they get, you know, they're like most things. As they grow up, you get ugly. When we're younger, we're calves, we're not ugly, right? Most of the time you look at a puppy, oh, depending on how the dog looks in a couple of years, what do we say? Oh. Right? For some people, right? Seeing meat in its raw form, some people are for it and some people aren't. We always had we lately had a lot of discussions. How many vegetarians do we have here? And yeah, not that too many. How do we feel about this? When do we see it?
Gross.
Right? Gross, ugly, not? So we had this discussion. And I wanted to kind of coincide when it was a discussion we had, came up when I was talking with Paul, was when you come to my restaurant, you see things around you and you think it's ugly because it's meat or not, depending on how the person viewpoints and how their decisions are. But for the restaurant, we make sure that we are accommodating for those people and how we're always accommodating. So we had it once, and I've done it a couple times. I went with a friend to a vegetarian restaurant, and I asked them if I could have some meat. And they laughed at me. Why we wouldn't serve that here? Well, why not? If you come to my restaurant that serves meat, it goes both ways. I should be able to go to a vegetarian restaurant and be like, hey, you got a steak? Right? Because you come into a normal restaurant that doesn't have a steak, or that serves steak and ask, can I have a vegetarian entree? Sure. So why can't I get a steak entree? You know, it goes both ways. You know, and then that's also something. Is this ugly or not ugly? Do I walk in and I feel ugly because all of a sudden ugly has come away from being mostly, as stated, attraction, you know, a physical presence, to now, depending how this discussion goes, it could get real ugly in here, right? So now all of a sudden ugly has come to betray other senses than what the definition is. So this is what we turn that kind of meat into. Ugly? Not ugly?
Beautiful.
Yummy.
So it's the same exact thing. All three of those photos are the same exact thing. The animal, the meat from that animal, the meat from the animal on a plate. Same progression, same everything. So this is our beef tartare at the restaurant. Beef tartare, deviled egg filling, whipped bone marrow on the top, fennel pollen, chives, sherbet. Looks a lot better than it did with a big hunk of meat on a plate. Looks a lot better than it did walking around in the field, right? This is also one of the beef plates. Roasted ribeye, turnip custard, braised greens, dehydrated greens, roasted turnip. Nice? No? I'm not going to be the only one talking for an hour, right? So this is, are we seeing points here or not on how we go from one subject to not? And in our profession, everything that we get mostly in the raw form isn't that beautiful. You know, you look at, we saw the fish, we see a lot of vegetables that come in. When we get it in the raw form, it doesn't really look that appetizing. It looks ugly. But now we have to turn around because most of in our profession with our customers is visual. You see before you eat. You see before you do most things. So it has to have that attraction for you, A, to get past that point to like it and to eat it. Or to buy it, or to do most things. Any guesses on what this is?
Liver.
Yes. Liver. How many people like liver? How many people think this looks ugly? Come on, there's got to be more. Hey, if I'm in the way over here, just tell me, okay? Yeah? All right. Liver coincides with the same pictures that I've been showing you because it comes from the animal that I showed you in the field. Braunschweiger. Liver. Ooh, delicious. But now, if I just cook the liver and put it on a plate, it's going to be a lot harder to sell than if I make it look like this. So we got Braunschweigers in the center. On the outside of it, it's going to be a red wine shallot gelatin that coats the whole thing, like an entremet or dessert. Red wine shallot jam, rye bread. A little more appetizing than this. Yeah? Same exact dish. Exact same components, same exact dish. Set up differently. So now it's the same things of having the same exact ingredients and changing the physical look of it. The other one looked nice. Now this one almost looks like a bonbon. You know, we served this when we were in Austin, and they thought it was a dessert. I didn't tell them it wasn't a dessert. We're going to play this out until somebody eats this, you know? Because it's also the sense of surprise. If I tell you something ahead of time before you have it, then you're going to make a prejudgment. You're going to think it's beautiful or it's ugly. If I don't tell you anything and let you make your own judgment, then I probably have a better chance to have a discussion afterwards than before. How do we feel about this one?
Pretty good.
Pretty? Beautiful?
I'm okay with it.
Yeah. Sorry.
Pearls.
Other thoughts?
Halfway.
Halfway?
Yeah.
That's, in theory, this is why we're halfway. Because it's beautiful colors, but yet most of us kind of don't want to go to the beautiful part. We want to be like, oh, it's nice, but not really say it too loud. You know?
Part that you eat isn't so appealing.
Which part do you eat?
You don't eat the shell.
No. That is true. Everything else. Scouts. And now nobody really knows what to think, right? This is some things that we do also. We take something that we want to put you in a neutral zone, where you can't say it's ugly. But you really don't know how to feel. Because then, especially in an environment that I have, this is where we start to slowly, not take over, but yet guide diners. So you're kind of in limbo. You don't really know what this is. At our restaurant, all the chefs are also all the waiters. So we interact with you, we discuss what we do. So for this one, we took again the eggs, the roll, blended it and made pretty much some of us had almost like a bisque or a lobster bisque. We made that out of the roe. Underneath the structure you see is going to be a mousse of that. Raw scallops is going to be inside of it with brown butter and parsley. And then on top, what we did was we took lemon, zested it into egg whites, whipped a meringue, and made piles of whipped meringue and put it in dehydrator and dehydrated it until all of a sudden it just became crispy egg whites that tasted like lemon. And then we took all of the leftover parts of the scallops that you saw kind of connected, hold it in there, dehydrated it, and made a salt out of it. So then we crumbled and put everything over top of what it actually was, but everything here is completely made out of the entire scallop and looks nothing like a scallop.
Smells like roll.
Yeah. I feel like a teacher almost for a second. Little pointer. So these are also things that we can take something uglier and make it beautiful, or put it in a position where something that you thought would have been ugly, and now all of a sudden I can change your opinion on it because all of a sudden you don't know how to feel. Are we making sense? No? You guys are way too quiet. Woo! All right, tell me about it. This is the kitchenette art. For most of it, you can see the entire kitchen. Arden is, in my mind, beautiful. Some people will come in, they like it or not like it. We try to keep it beautiful, we try to keep it open, we try to keep it relaxed, we try to keep it calm. Arden also, on this kind of a structure, has it where it is entirely open. As you see, this is what you'll walk into outside of this and that first slide that we had. That's what you see when you walk in the front door. I greet you. 3 other guys greet you. We sit you down, we talk to you. We're all of a sudden making something that, I put Arden, I should go back. Arden's in a basement. Arden used to be a flower shop, a Turkish coffee shop. It has no sign. It has nothing other than a fog door and an A on it. There's 2 ways. You can walk by it and you can walk by it and never know it's there. I had a guy come in last night. What is this place? And I stopped and looked around. I think it's a restaurant. But we want that. We want something in the interior. You walk down on Farwell, and it doesn't look beautiful from the outside. Whoever's been there has walked and seen it. It's not a beautiful building. It doesn't look beautiful. That's part of what we're trying to achieve. We don't want big signs. We don't want somebody to come in with a pre-notion of what they think that we are downstairs. They want to have no idea. They want to come in and find out what it is. Because then all of a sudden, we can serve some of the things that you saw, because we serve whole animals. We serve lots of raw product. We serve vegetables that come from here. We serve, what do we have? We serve a twig jus, a twig sauce. Because we gathered a whole bunch of twigs in the summertime. Birch, sassafras, all of this. Dehydrated it, flavored vinegars with it, flavored sauces with it. All of these ugly branches that everybody looked at. What are you going to do with this pile? And now we're feeding it to people. So, we can look at, for Arden, trying to turn something ugly into something beautiful. And outside of it being one of the hardest things to do for us, it is a very personal statement. So this is why we're setting up a structure and atmosphere to take away something that you can look at and be like, well, that's going to be ugly. And pretty soon you don't know what it's going to be. And then pretty soon we make you think it's beautiful. And then when you eat it, it is beautiful. And now all of a sudden we're going to change that you thought liver was ugly. And now liver is delicious. So you might not think that it looks attractive, but you probably aren't going to say that it's ugly anymore. Because you're going to first remember it was really good. Questions? No? Yes?
Do you feel like a great deceiver, or do you feel like someone who's more of like an evangelist?
It depends on the customer. Both. You know, I think that I don't look at, perceive that, I guess I'm fortunate and my employees are fortunate that we don't look at anything as it's bad. Everything has a possibility. Everything can be used. Everything can taste delicious. How? How do we achieve this? We don't rule anything out at all. You know, we had a farmer all summer long that every Tuesday would just bring us stuff. We had no clue. We didn't order anything. This is where some of the twigs came from. We ate some of the stuff that she would drop off. I didn't even know what it was. But we would sit there and we would research. And if it didn't smell right at the time, how do we change the odor of this? How do we do this? How do we work with this? Because it's still utilized and it can still have a possibility. You know, pretty soon we rule out most things in our culture because we didn't like it. Why? Because we didn't want to work at it to make it likable? It still has a use. So it all depends on what it is and on the customer, because I have to make you buy it and eat it, right? Other questions, thoughts? I was hoping for way more interaction.
I think part of what
Grab
you're doing,
a mic here real quick.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
part of what you're doing too by taking away the form that we're used to and putting it sort of in a new visual is breaking down our bad memories of liver that our mom made that didn't taste good, because you have that sense memory. If you made a really, really well-made piece of liver that looked like my mom's liver, I still might have that barrier to it, even though it tasted much, much better.
Completely.
So by changing the form, you're sort of reinventing what it could be to us.
Yep. No, that's what, hey, my mom was not, she was a good cook, I should say. But there's some things she did better than other things. But, and on that pre-notion on this is also why we set this up. Kind of looks like your living room, right? There is no white tablecloths. You know, we serve food like this, in an environment like this. There's no white table. The first thing I had a customer came in, why don't you have white tablecloths? Why? Well, because your food should have it. Why? Why do I have to have white tablecloths to serve nice food? Why wouldn't I want a customer to come in and relax and hang out and put their feet up on my other chairs? Because why not? I do the same thing. And act like it's your living room and eat really good food. And now while you're doing that, you're already relaxed, you're comfortable. And now all of a sudden I'm going to drop down and put this in front of you, or this in front of you, or one of these in front of you. And you're not going to know what it is right away. And then we're going to discuss it. We're going to have a discussion face to face on what it is, what I cooked, what I made, how the flavors are, why we did this. And you're going to feel comfortable with it afterwards.
Do you provide a menu then, or not provide a menu?
I do not provide a menu when you sit down. There is nothing but a napkin and a water glass on the table. Not even silverware.
Restrictions, would they tell you where they make a reservation?
Yep. Make a reservation online. We have notes. It's a wonderful thing. Notes. I'm allergic to this. I'm a vegetarian. I'm a vegan. I walk in, we don't talk about anything. We have a menu made for you. Here's 8 courses of a vegetarian. Here's 8 courses of a vegan. Here's 8 courses of gluten-free. Here's this, here's that. No discussion at all. Because all of a sudden we're also in the world of when we discussed before, you walk in and then all of a sudden you feel like, oh, I'm the vegetarian. Now you feel uncomfortable. That's not fair, you know?
Do you think too, like you're almost like pre-scanning people? Like you already, if people are walking and they see this place, they're already, yeah, I like this. I'm up for an adventure, and you're almost picking like a pre-scan of the adventures people are going to continue on. So I know that they're going to have a good experience. Where someone's like,
That question kind of goes both ways, doesn't it?
Go for it.
You're kind of you're pre-scanning me before you come. Just like every other restaurant. You look me up. What do I have? What's on the menu? Where is it? What time am I open? I'm pre-scanned before anybody comes.
Well,
so we're trying to even the playground.
This is my question, like how much of that is intentional when you go in, like you said, you like that fact, it's an A on the door.
Yep, it was all intentional. When I opened up Arden, a lot of it, and I did work with a Japanese man and learned a lot of their culture, was let's make something the opposite of what normal people would do. Let's put this down in a basement. Let's make people find it. Let's make people that drive by, and they might have to drive by 2 or 3 times. They're borderline frustrated at points when they walk in. You know how many people that I get in, you know you don't have a sign? Really? Somebody steal it? What are you talking about? You know, but now all of a sudden we're breaking the ice. And we're having a discussion. And now we're on the equal playing level. We're close.
I have a just quick follow-up question.
Sure.
What has the reaction been? I mean, has it been 100% positive? I mean, you're getting these great international reviews, but locally in Milwaukee, have you had anybody just discuss it? And
How honest do you want me to be?
I'll completely honest. I mean, I'm all excited to go, but I'm just curious. I'm very
It's like
curious if
anything
there's
else.
been
It's not going to be
reaction.
100%. Right now, 60% of my diners come from outside the city.
Wow.
40% come from inside the city.
Are you talking
And
Milwaukee proper or like southeastern Wisconsin?
I'm talking on a 414 area code, 262 area code, anywhere around outside of the 608 area code.
Does that change for red light ramen?
Yeah, and I can't really follow that red light ramen, but for sure, red light ramen is very local. And I would say the demographic of red light ramen, outside of a portion that come in from the outside, but would probably be directly downtown in on the east side and River West.
So your rejection rate, to answer the question, is, I mean, people are, is there 10% that are just like, oh my God, this is awful?
I mean, and oddly enough, throughout the 14 months, we've gotten from starting out as a normal restaurant, menu on the table. This is the a la carte menu, because we do have an a la carte menu. We have a set of roughly 10 to 12 items. We call it the safe menu. Because, well, there are people, and I'm Midwestern, we're all Midwestern. We don't like to be told what to do. We don't like to feel uncomfortable. Well, let's be honest. We don't like to feel uncomfortable. If I don't like something, I'm probably really not going to tell you about it. I'm just not going to come back. Huh?
Hey, Justin.
Okay.
Justin, buddy, over here.
Oh, how's that? I thought I was like, is Jesus talking to me?
So you talked kind of briefly about
Talk about
art. Art is a space, it's in a basement, no sign. You got a parking lot, no one knows about it.
It's on a
You come in
website.
for ramen, like you gotta, I'll come in for ramen, have to stand by the trash can, eating bowls and getting yelled at to wash dishes. So, what does that mean for you? You and I have talked about this, I just want to hear you say it again.
Yeah.
What does that mean for your growth? Like, how does Arden grow? What are your ambitions for growing Arden, keeping all of that in mind?
Growth-wise, to me, and it's just the same philosophy that I have on food and what we do. I have to have a history or a starting point. And I'm looking for longevity. If I open up a restaurant and I give you everything that you want, I already shortened my longevity. Because everybody gives you everything you want because they want you to hurry up, show up, and they want to make a return on money. For me, this is my restaurant, this is how I feel, this is what I serve. This is why I serve it. This is where it comes from. This is who I am. So I want that to start, and I want to share that with people, and I want to make that connection with the customer and with my clientele that comes in. And I want to learn what you like. And I want to learn your stories of your growing up and your family, and all of a sudden we make a connection on Braunschweiger because all of a sudden your grandma used to make it and we'd have it at holidays, and I haven't had it in 5 or 10 years. I want those connections. Yeah.
On that point, would you ever consider opening the kitchen up, kind of do the Japanese chef in the circle, and then have people watch you? Or since I know what kitchens are like, sometimes you don't want.
That was the dream. Right now, Arden is completely open.
Yes,
You can sit there and you can come back and hang out while I'm cooking.
come back, but what
Yeah.
about?
You can sit at the counter and be 3 feet away from me your entire 3 hours. And outside of what Steve was saying, so we're building that foundation, and we're slowly going to grow off of it. I also have this opposite mindset. I always say that it's like giving candy to a kid. Pretty soon the kid doesn't want it anymore, right? Everybody always, are you going to expand red light ramen? I'm full. I'm going to stay full for a while. The worst thing to do in business is expand. And expand early. If you have a good thing, let's just keep it a good thing and keep it the way it is. Because the larger that I get, something's going to suffer at some point. You know, if I'm doing well in a small state, so by all means, Arden isn't full every night. I'm only open 4 days a week. I'm open 16 hours a week. 4 days a week, 4 hours a night. Last night, I did 4 people. Wednesday night, I did 8 people. Tonight, I have 27 now. Saturday, I have 37 now. Max I do is 36, 37. But everybody in our culture, say in the Midwest, wants Friday and Saturday night at 7 or 7:30, right? That time does not exist at Arden. That was one of the other pre-notions that I did. I took that time out. You can't get it. You eat from 6 to 6:45, you eat from 8 to 8:45. Because I can get 2 full turns on it as a restaurant. And now I can give you an experience instead of our culture that we grew up where I hurry up, I run in, I sit down, I get a pound baked potato, I get a pound of steak, a gallon of red wine, and I'm gone in an hour and 15 minutes. And I feel like poop.
So you just completely smashed all of right here. You just smashed all of my expectations about how a restaurant works, and
right?
Like, how do you stay in business? I mean, like you don't just make this decision not to have a sign or have marketing
Yep.
or normal side, and like just expect people to walk in the door. Like, how is this working? Like, I'm
serve good food.
Okay.
If you serve a good product and you hold to serving a good product, no matter what you do, it's kind of like the whole field of dreams philosophy. It sounds cheesy, but most people are going to cut corners, whether it's on product or anything else, because they look at it as a business. We look at Arden as a lifestyle, not business. If we can financially afford to do it, this is wonderful, and so far we can. But we serve, our most intention is to serve the best product that we can at a cost that people can afford. That's how it is. You know, and so far, people show up. Oddly enough, people drive an hour and a half, regularly, weekly, and drive back to Chicago to have that product. Unfortunately, more people do that than people drive 15 minutes or more.
But you can take that risk because you have a great reputation.
I had no reputation before I opened. I had a reputation of running somebody else's restaurant.
Yeah, but that's you.
Well, you know, and it goes both sides. Because until you open up your own, and most whoever business owner is not, it kind of is a 50-50. Was it the owner that he worked for? Or was it him? And you never know until you do it on your own.
We'll extend just for our previous speaker, Tariq, and we'll close on that.
Do you feel that there's a change in what beauty is physically in restaurants? Like, you go to Franklin's in Austin, that's as ugly as barbecue joint. You go to Nashville, Prince's Hot Chicken, it's next to a nail shop.
Yep.
Ben's Chili Bowl in DC, it's basically in the hood.
Yep.
These places now changing lines, and like long lines getting these places. They don't have white tablecloths, but the food is, you have presidents going there, you got celebrities going there. You feel America is now, in a sense, there's more to a restaurant than fine dining. There's the food becoming more important than before.
Yep. Yeah. No. Exactly. No. Completely. It's come to the point now where we're taking, and it is, I'm a huge follower and promoter of it. Get away from all the excess. Serve what you serve. If you serve great food, it doesn't matter where you go. Obviously, me and my wife sat 3.5 hours at Franklin's in Austin. And we got the food, and guess what we said? 3.5 hours what? This is delicious. You know? It doesn't matter about it. Sure, it does matter. I can't say it doesn't completely matter about surroundings. It does. You have to have a comfortable environment. You have to have a safe environment. You have to have something that people will at least enjoy. But if your product is very good and your food is that good, people will come and people will sit anywhere to eat it. They will sit out on chairs that we bought from CVS and wait to do it and drink Lone Star. All right. So I think it's definitely going in that direction.